Welcome to the June 30th, 2021 Zoning Board of Adjustments meeting. Our next meeting will be July 28th, 2021, 7 o'clock p.m. here in the Matthew Thornton room. So first we have, all right, we'll do that after. Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Patrick, if you could read the preamble.
Sure thing. Good evening to those in attendance and watching from home. For the benefit of those who have not previously attended the zoning board hearing, the procedure is as follows. The petitions will be heard in the order they appear on the agenda. However, the chair may change the order at their discretion. The board will treat all petitioners, their representatives, abutters, and other interested parties fairly and with respect. The petitioner will be asked to give an overview of their petition and read through their responses to the criteria applicable to their case, allowing the board to ask questions after each item. State law and local ordinances establish the criteria that must be met in order for the board to grant the approval to a petition, and it's the petitioner's responsibility to demonstrate that they have met each criteria. Following the presentation, the chair will open the floor for public comment, either in favor or opposed to the request. If necessary, an opportunity for rebuttal will be offered to the petitioner and public. However, discussion will not be allowed to devolve into back and forth arguments. All comments made shall be directed toward the chair. Should a question be asked, the chair will pose the question to the petitioner. Afterward, the chair will close the public hearing and the board will deliberate and vote on the petition. At this time, please silence all mobile devices.
All right, so Drew, you'll be sitting in for Lynn tonight since she is not here. And for anyone that's looking to speak tonight, if you could please stand and raise your right hand. Anyone that's looking to speak either on a petition or regarding a petition. And you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, thank you. So moving along, the St. Gobain Performance Plastics Corporation petitioner owner, appeal of an administrative decision under RSA 674-34 that attached additional requirements to the issuance of a building permit. The parcel is located at 701 Daniel Webster Highway in the I-1 Industrial Aquifer Conservation Districts and Wellhead Protection Area. Tax map 6E, lot 003-02, case ZBA 2021-08. This item has been continued from the May 20th, 2021 meeting. This item has been withdrawn, so it will not be heard tonight. The next item, Buildin Properties LLC, petitioner owner, appeal of administrative decision determining that the current use of the property is a junkyard per the town zoning ordinance and New Hampshire RSA 236-112. The parcel is located at 719 Daniel Webster Highway in the C2 General Commercial R4 Residential and Planned Residential Districts. Tax map 7E lot 52, case ZBA 2021-07. Due to an abutter notice, this will actually not, or a defect with the abutter notice, this item is not going to be heard tonight either. So the first one that we are going to take a look at is Nikolay and Tanya Gapanov, petitioner owner, appeal of administrative decision determining that the current use of the property is a contractor yard per the town zoning ordinance. The parcel is located at 109 Bedford Road in the R1 Residential by Soils and Aquifer Conservation Districts. Tax map 6C, lot 194, case ZBA 2021-17. And who will be looking to speak on this petition?
It's appeal of administrative decision.
We still have to speak to the petitioner.
Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I could just a second. Just to clarify the language in the legal notice, semantically it was misunderstood what exactly is happening here, so I just want to clear it up for the board before the petitioner speaks to their appeal. The notice is written that they are appealing the decision of being called the contractor yard. That's not actually the case. They do not dispute that they are a contractor yard. What they are here to appeal to you tonight is the fact that we are not permitting them to operate as a home occupation. Just to make sure that that's clear.
Okay. So Are there any types of permits where they could eventually move in that direction, or?
So I can speak to that later on. I'd like to let the board hear their argument first. I don't want to have my position necessarily cloud anything, but there is an avenue, but not as far as staff is concerned, not as a home occupation. But that's going to be up to the board to decide based on their petition.
All right, understood. Actually, we need you to speak into the microphone. So if you could, yep, please. Oh, no problem. So what you'll want to do is make sure that the light on your microphone is lit up bright green. If it's not, you might want to turn it on. And if you could just please state your name and your address for the record, and then let us know what, feel free to tell us about this appeal.
So my name is Tanya Gavinoff, and we're at 109 Bedford Road in Merrimack.
Okay.
And so our situation is this, my husband, who's.
Oh, they're saying the microphone is not on.
Oh, sorry.
No
Did I say
problem.
my name again?
Yes, please.
Okay. It's Tanya Gapinoff, 109 Bedford Road in Merrimack.
Okay.
And me and my husband, who's over there, we live there, obviously. He has a small business. He does concrete, like patios or like walkways. And he's just like one-man show, hardworking guy. We have 3 little kids, 7, 5, and 18 months. And I
Wow.
stay home with them. He had this small business, and then during Corona time, he got this amazing deal on a boom truck, which is big, and some concrete forms. So we moved it in our yard thinking like, why not? Because, you don't learn in school that you have to read this document and know stuff. So then, life is good until we get a notice. And then it says that we're operating a business, and there's like a bunch of other stuff that was in there. My husband poured our driveway a little while back, and so he put like one of those signs like, hey, I'm pouring this driveway, because like people ask, some people stop by and ask, so and they took a picture of the sign like we're advertising our business, which like we weren't advertising that our business is here, we were just advertising, hey, I did the driveway. So then we were like, oh no, and I spoke to Robert at length about that. I felt bad, like we didn't want to make anybody upset by our stuff, so we found a place. And this is where he explained to me that what we had is contractor yard, which I didn't know. We were just like having our stuff there, I don't know, on our land, thinking all is good. So he said it's contractor yard because it's like a lot of equipment in the yard. So we found a place, and we moved that stuff. We're paying somewhere to, like, we moved the boom truck, we moved the forms, we sold a bunch of stuff, and we moved everything that's like commercial from the yard. And I took some pictures that I submitted with my appeal of how it looks like now. And so, like, we're not contesting, like, we didn't know that was not allowed. So what we want to do is just to get a home occupancy permit, because I was reading the ordinance, and it seems like we meet, like, all the requirements of the home occupation, level 1. So we just want to be able to have, like, no more than 500 square feet of, like, stuff in our shed. 1 commercial vehicle, no employees, no business sign, no visitors. Nothing visible externally, no display of any goods or wares visible from the street. There's no noise associated with it or anything like that, and so we just, want to be able to get the home occupation. I know it does not say contractors expressly in there, but it also does not exclude them, so that's what we're trying to get.
Okay, so in going through the notes, I see that there's been some conversation back and forth between you and Robert Price. It sounds like he was suggesting that you seek a variance to permit a contractor business as a home occupation before.
Right, but that doesn't make sense to me. We remove like everything from the outside, and we meet every qualification of level 1, so I'm just not understanding the need for a variance. Like in the language, the home occupation definition, non-residential use carried on within a residence or its accessory buildings, which use is clearly incidental and secondary to the principal use of the property as a residence and does not change the character thereof. And we live on Bedford Road. I mean, if you guys know, it's a busy road. This is how it looks right, like from the street. I took some pictures. I mean, it's not really changing character of anything. And then like in the section 2.02.1, 2-C, it says home occupations are deemed to include, and it lists stuff which does not list contractors, and he was making a case that it's a permissible, how did he word it in there? A permissible thing where if like it doesn't say it, then it's not included, but then if it was so, why include Part D, home occupations expressly do not include kennels? So if kennel was not included here in Part C, why then mention that here? So then it's up for interpretation, and we just don't understand why we, just like a hardworking guy. I'm speaking because he's just, he's good at work. He's not really good at like this paper stuff. We're looking to abide by all the rules that are outlined in section 2.02.1, level 1, home occupation. So I just don't understand why we cannot be granted it.
Absolutely. So in terms of things like those finer details, that's something I would absolutely defer to Robert Price or anyone from the office on those types of things. What I'm kind of asking about is in his notes to you, he had stated that it might be a good idea to apply for a variance as well as consider an appeal of administrative decision. And just so you know, the big difference being a variance is if something seems right, like ethically, but it doesn't make sense in terms of the way the variance is stated, then we always recommend to look for a variance, because that way, we can take a look at it on a case-by-case basis. The problem with appeal of administrative decision is if there's something in the variance that prohibits you from doing what you're doing, when we go and we do an appeal on an administrative decision, we're setting a precedence that in the future that parts of that ordinance may be disregarded for future petitioners, and that can be kind of dangerous. So that's why when we go through things like this, and like I said, I'll defer to Robert Price on the details as to why your particular home occupation didn't quite line up with the way the ordinance is written. But that doesn't mean necessarily that there's no way to have the home occupation. It just means that by the way the ordinance is written, what you have doesn't qualify as a home occupation.
So I guess we're, again, and this is where we kind of, he recommended we do the appeal or a variance, is that, we're just like middle-class Americans. We're just running a one-man show business that qualifies here, like in a town of Merrimack, where we bought our first house. Like, we don't want to go through like a variance of some sort or making any special, we think like, my dad, like he immigrated to U.S., he had a tile business. He kept some tile in his, garage, he had his truck. We think that guys like that, painters, they should be able to operate from their home as long as they meet these requirements. I just don't understand why we can't. And the language of this, it just is home occupations are deemed to include. Home occupations expressly do not include kennels, parking or storage of tractor trailers, automotive repair or maintenance, small engine repair or maintenance, welding, or any uses which involve the visible storage on the property of automobiles or parts thereof. We are not expressly excluded in this ordinance. So if we're not expressly, why is Part D there? If we're not expressly excluded, why cannot we be included? It seems like that's then up to interpretation of the administrator, And we're not seeking to be harmful in any way. We're just, just a little guy doing his little business. Like, we understand that the truck was offensive to our nearby dwellers. And have they actually come and talked to us, we would have removed it all. We're just trying to live peacefully, like run a little business, support our little family. We're not trying to like run for a variance of any kind. Like, we just,
So, Mr. Chair, what Ms. Gapinoff was trying to allude to earlier was, it's addressed in my staff memo, where the Merrimack zoning ordinance is considered a permissive ordinance, meaning that all allowed permitted uses are or have to be expressly written out as permitted uses in each particular zone. So staff's in staff's opinion in this case, because or just because there is language that specifically excludes certain items, while that's probably redundant, it does not take away from the fact that a contractor yard or tradesman is not listed as a permitted use. So that's our position on this, and that's where they're trying to that's the appeal that they're trying to make to you. In the previous version of the zoning ordinance, 2016 version, they used to be there. They were removed last year, or earlier this January of 2021 version of the zoning ordinance. Yeah, you've got the old one.
Yeah, all right.
That was amended in January.
So it just seems like, you know, working guys all of a sudden this year can no longer work from their home. Like, that's so sad, you know?
I mean, absolutely, they certainly can. It's just,
But you're saying like by allowing like my husband to just have his little business, that would set like a dangerous precedence, like how dangerous it is like to provide for your family, like from your home.
no, what's dangerous about setting a precedence is nothing about the business itself. It's about what other things could be excluded, because we have our own legal counsel, and we're not lawyers. So yeah, that's something that I would sit down with our legal counsel to kind of figure out is, you know, what is the downstream impact from making a change from an appeal of a decision. So that is something that, and actually, I guess with that being said, I'll direct this question to Robert Price. So if this were to be appealed, what precedence does this particularly set?
If the board were to grant the appeal,
Yes.
staff's opinion is that you would interpret it then that tradesmen would be allowed as home occupations, no matter the scale. They used to be, and they were amended out of the ordinance due to the level of complaints that we had received over these type of businesses in the past.
But those complaints, like, did they still go with like the rules that were in place here? Because you guys have received a complaint about ours, but we were not following these rules because we actually didn't know they existed. You know, like I went to public school, nobody ever is like, oh, you moved to a town, you make sure you open their stuff and you read over here. Like, we didn't know. Now we know, so right away we took care of it, you know? And so now we're like, we want to follow the rules that are laid out over here, you know? And it seems like somebody can say, oh, you know, you're this kind of worker, so you can do your business if you follow the rules, but no, because of the kind of business you are, you can't, you know? Like, what are like hardworking Americans to do? The painters, the tile guys, the plumbers, you know, the concrete guys. I mean, he has one commercial vehicle, which is allowed, no business, no sign, no employees. And we're just looking to have up to 500 square feet in our shed of his equipment, you know? We're gonna store everything else, like we're paying to have, like, and that's understandable, like the big stuff that was upsetting, like, to people. And so we moved it, you know, and we actually would have moved it even without a notice. If like, you know, somebody came and said, you know, that's really upsetting to me, we would have moved it, like, you know, we don't wanna upset anybody. And so why can't, like, I mean, I think, honestly, I don't know how to make that motion, but I think tradesmen should be back in here, like, you know, I mean, they're, like, you know, I think they serve an important part in our community, you know, like, somebody wants a patio,
Oh.
like, where are they gonna get it, you know, like, not
They
everybody can
absolutely do.
afford.
We have plenty of tradesmen in the area, so I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, that's not the issue. I understand where you're coming from, and I absolutely see your frustration because I myself am kind of questioning why this was permitted before and not now. But at the end of the day, it really boils down to how the paperwork is filed. So I think what I'm going to do at this point in time is ask the board, does anyone here have any questions for the petitioner?
No, I don't have any question for the petitioner, and I gotta be honest with you, I mean, I personally, I think that tradesman, I didn't know that was, I honestly didn't ever remember hearing that being taken out, and I don't think it should have been personally. I do see where it could get out of hand if somebody was, you know, putting in like a large crane truck, not that truck, but a large crane truck or multiple dump trucks or something to that extent, but,
But that's excluded in the home occupation, you know what I'm saying,
No,
if you're following the rules.
yeah, no, and I hear what you're saying, it just, from that discussion, I don't know, I don't think I necessarily agree with, and I don't generally step on line. I generally will tend to agree with what with community development has to say, but in this case, I don't know, I don't see a reason why a contractor shouldn't have that. There are a lot of contractors that have, you know, they use their own space, and they generally, most of them, I imagine, at least the ones I have seen, are pretty respectful of it. I mean, Rod, you'd know, I mean, you know a lot of the contractors in the town, I mean.
My only question, I agree, and I've got a business here in town. And at one point, I had parked my trucks in my yard, and I got slapped on the wrist and had to move my trucks and find a property for them. My question is probably to Robert, if I'm allowed to speak to Robert, is should this be allowed? And he decides to bring his trucks back and everything back, and do we then go back to the rule that he's abusing his home occupation? I mean, this isn't giving him a green light to run his business full throttle
again, he still needs to maintain no parking his vehicles and so forth. So if he abuses that, somebody can come back.
If the board were to deem this a suitable home occupation, which again, at this point, they've scaled it down to the point where it's close. And before the meeting, we tried to work it out where it could be done as administrative approval through our office. The problem is that still more than the business office activities are taking place, she's still looking to have storage of materials at the house, which is still going to result in, contractor yard materials happening there and truck trips coming and going and whatnot. So that's where it in our minds doesn't work. So that's basically where she's asking you guys to step in. Now, if the zoning board were to overturn our decision and allow this as a home occupation, she would have to seek approval through our office for a level 1, because presumably she's looking for that level 1, and she would have to maintain compliance with those criteria that were listed there. The difference being that I think at this point, probably the storage of the items would be essentially deemed allowed. And the dangerous part is, as Rich was speaking to, would be if all contractors, because you're not just focused on one, the specifics of her case is not where we're landing here. It's basically going to be anybody. So what level of business that comes forward next, are they going to be able to comply in spirit of the ordinance, the way it's written, and how things evolve from there? So that's where Rich is talking about things could get a little dangerous.
So we're not necessarily approving this individual. We're approving a broad scope of home ownership, occupancy.
Correct. If this were a variance application, it would be done on a specific case basis. But as an administrative appeal, you're looking to reinterpret or alter the language of the ordinance to make it, to basically look at how it's interpreted now and change how that interpretation is for the future.
You don't want to file, you don't want to go through the whole variance process and just get a variance so you can get the approval to do this? Is that what I was hearing from you?
I mean, so to get a variance, Robert sent me like this thing. It's so confusing. Like he said that they can't help us fill it out, and it seems like in there it almost excludes you by the language of it from what I understand. We don't want to pay a lawyer to like help us fill it out. And either way, and this is, again, it's the way as is written, as is written. I don't think we're pushing the interpretation. It gives you general prohibitions, in section 2.02, fumes, odor, smoke, vibrations. My husband, what we're looking to do is have, as is allowed in level 1 occupation, no more than 500 square feet of existing gross living area, inhabitable floor area of the dwelling, including the space used in any accessory buildings. Accessory building, we have a permitted shed. So we're looking to have up to 500 square feet inside our permitted shed, which Robert told me still is contractor yard. I asked him for a definition of contractor yard.
Would be
He sent me-
materials.
Materials. But contractor yard, contractor yard, meaning outside, like our yard.
No,
So contractor yard inside,
No,
I was looking for a definition.
So contractor yard is generally going to be a space, it could be in the shed, it could be outside the shed, but where you're going to have materials, where you have your materials. And so think of like, you drive by one of the landscaping areas where they've got a garage, they've got a couple of equipment, they got some equipment outside, they might have a huge pile of mulch, whatever the case may be. That's a contractor yard.
Right, so a huge pile of mulch, stuff outside. We're gonna have one commercial truck and up to 500 square feet on our shed, like inside our shed. My husband goes to work,
No,
just like a
and
painter would.
no one's
like would
debating that.
Pick up a bucket, of paint from his shed, puts it in the truck and drives off. Technically, our painters in the town of Merrimack right now cannot do that legally.
Based on the way that is written, yes, and understanding why you're here for the appeal, all I was just simply asking is why you chose not to go down the variance road, and you kind of answered that. You saw the variance paperwork and it was confusing, you don't want to hire lawyers. That's
not the only, it's just, I
Okay.
think as written, we're allowed. I see as is written, I think we're allowed, because I think if it was like a premise, what's that word, promissory?
permissible.
if it was permissible, you
It
know,
is.
if it was truly that, why is there a section D? Why, if it's only those things deemed to include are there, why then put the language of section D, home occupations expressly do not include, why put that in there? If it is what he's saying it is, a permisory thing, why then write this is excluded, if it's already presumed it's excluded here? It just doesn't make sense, you know?
Okay, no, I understand what you're saying. I do. I get it.
It just, you know, we're not trying to go for anything big here. We just want to like run a little and I think all contractors should be allowed to run their business, you know, like.
No, and I'm not talking about, we're just talking about you for the moment, but I understand what you're saying. I do.
No, but
I
you
get- I
guys
get
are
what you're
telling me
saying.
it's not about us, it's about every contractor in the town of
Well,
Merrimack.
it sets a precedent. I mean, and that's what Rich was trying to get across was the precedent and that's, and I understand that you and probably the next 10 individuals that have contractor yards or have their own contract business would not abuse it in any way, shape, or form, and would do their thing, go to work, and wouldn't bother the neighbors, and would be perfectly fine, just like you're saying. You know, just have a small area and that's it. It takes that one person, right? That one person who just pushes it, and you know he's got 3 18-wheel dump trucks or whatever, 12-wheel dump trucks.
But
I'm-
they can't.
I understand that, but when you set a precedent, what you're doing, you have to look at it. Unfortunately, you have to look at it that one person or that 2 or 3 people that are just going to abuse it, and that's why that's there. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think
No,
that
it's just the example you made, like what Rod Buckley had said, is that if that person abuses it, then they're no longer in the compliance with a
Right.
level 1, and then they can be
Yeah.
taken care of that
right.
way, you
and
know?
then we have to. Then it has to be reported, and then people go through it. I'm not disagreeing with you on the appeal. I'm not. I said before that I don't think that the tradesperson thing should be taken out. Okay, so I'm actually not disagreeing with you on it. I literally was just simply asking the question why you didn't go down the variance road.
Yeah,
That's all.
I mean, yeah. This
That's
is
all
just
I'm
very upsetting, because it's like our livelihood, you know?
I get that.
He's the only one working, you know,
I-
we have
no,
3 little
I-
ones, and it's like, you get this thing, and it's like, I know we did bad, like, that we had our boom truck there and the forms, but we would have removed it, like,
No.
you know, and we did, we removed it right away. We never
I-
put up a fight. I always talk to Robert, like, I call him right away, we got that letter, you know? It's just so upsetting, like, you know, we're like, we immigrated from Russia, like, their government is like, oh, you can't do this, and then here, it's like, we can run a little business.
I get all of that. I was just asking that, just
Yeah.
that was one question. But I do understand.
Sorry, it's
what
just a
you're
really
saying. No,
upsetting situation.
I don't mean to push that any further.
No, you
I'm
didn't.
done.
It's just, the
I have no more
situation is
questions.
just very sad. It's a sad situation.
I'm all set.
I'm sorry, we're
Okay.
taking up a lot of time.
All right, so I guess at this time, what we'll do is we'll open up the public portion, which is where we ask people if they have an opinion either for or against. And then after that, what we'll do is we'll deliberate. So if you could, take a seat back where you were, just in case anybody has anything else to add. So is there anyone that's looking to speak in favor of this particular petition? Is there anyone that's looking to speak against this particular petition?
How about with questions?
Oh, please, feel free to take a seat and state your name and address into the microphone, please.
My name is Kathleen Versbrill, and I live at 111 Bedford Road. So I am a next-door abutter. Here's my question. When I looked up a definition of contractor yard, the definition that I came up with was, it means a yard of any building trade or contractor where equipment and materials are stored. And it includes facilities for the administration or management of the business. And my understanding is that is zoned industrial. Am I correct in that assumption, that a contractor yard is considered industrial? Can anyone answer that?
Not
No,
only
you can
no-
get a variance. It doesn't have to be.
Well, without a variance, is it industrial?
If I could, contractor
Yes.
yards by the Merrimack zoning ordinance are only permitted in the industrial district.
Okay.
Yes.
And then my next question would be, is 109 and 111 and 113 Bedford Road considered and zoned residential?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And so the other question that, I would bring to your attention is, I'd like to know a definition of home occupation. When I looked again at definitions in the zoning law, it mentions specifically things like dentist, doctor, daycare, perhaps someone who bakes in their home and then takes things out to a store to sell. I didn't see anything about contractors in there. Am I correct in that or not?
Yes.
And so, those, I guess, were my questions that I would bring to your attention.
I think that they're valid questions, and this is not something, this is something that we've heard from other petitioners who've applied for variances to be able to do that, in which case, and usually it's pretty simple for us to work with a petitioner on a variance.
But this is not a variance, is it?
Correct.
I
This is
mean,
an appeal of
am I
administrative decision.
understanding from the letter that we received that this is an appeal of an administrative decision that that particular location is a contractor yard? It's not a variance.
Correct. An appeal, and if we were to appeal an administrative decision like this, we would be allowing everyone in Merrimack to have a contractor yard without any type of governance on that because of the fact that's how an appeal of administrative decision works.
But you have to understand what Rob said when this started. Rob said there's no debate on a contractor yard. This is about a home occupation. And it has no, the contractor yard, everybody keeps talking about contractor yard. It's not contractor yard. Rob even said himself, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob.
Yeah,
You said it was
it's-
about the home occupation.
Correct. It's the fact that they cannot, because I've deemed them a contractor yard, there's been no dispute on that. So ultimately, what it's going to come down to is, should a contractor yard, contractor business, contractor tradesman be considered as a level 1 home occupation?
So can a plumber run a business out of his house? Can an electrician run his business out of his house? That's what we're talking about. We're not talking
And-
about whether or not, let me finish. We're not talking about whether or not they can have 3 or 4 vans in their driveway, or they can have scaffolding or whatever. We're talking about whether or not they can run the business out of it. That's what, and so this whole idea of contractor yard, well, some businesses, I guess, have that, but you know what I'm saying? This is
Yeah.
just, so. So if
But
you had,
but my understanding would be currently, as the zoning law is written in Merrimack, it does not allow for this kind of home occupation? Is that what I'm hearing?
That is
that
correct.
is correct.
And so how does the zoning law get changed? Is that through a variance? I assume a variance?
It can be changed through the variance, or
No.
I would imagine it could be brought to town council.
It does not get changed by a variance. Variance is the alteration on a specific case.
Thank you.
But the planning board can put together a zoning amendment that they recommend approval that the town council then would have to vote on to approve and adopt. Alternatively, there is a petition, I think there's a petition process. I'm unfortunately not familiar about it enough at the town council level of government. I know about it with the board of selectmen level, but there's a petition warrant article process to change the zoning ordinance that way as well.
All right, those would be my questions.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that's looking to speak either in favor or against this petition? All right, if you'd like to come on down, state your name and your address.
My name's Michelle Craig, and I live at 107 Bedford Road, and I live on the other side of Nick and Tanya. And I've only been here for a year, a little over a year. And I actually had Nick do a job for me. Like if I had showed you before and after pictures of what my driveway looked like, it's amazing the work he did. So my whole thing is, he's not new. He didn't just move here. Neither did his business just exist. Why now? Why, after he's been here for so long and for so many years that he's had this business, why this particular neighbor just decides to, okay, well, I'm going to go to the town hall and complain. Where I came from, if you had a problem with your neighbor, you went to your neighbor. You didn't go to town hall. You didn't cause this big to-do that this poor man is now out of his business and can no longer support his wife and his 3 children. So this is my whole thing, like, why? Did you have a grudge with this particular neighbor that you felt that you needed to come to town hall and couldn't go to your neighbor? Like, why, after all these years that he's lived here and had this business, that this is happening? That's my whole thing. I just don't get it.
Yeah, the only thing we could tell you is, we showed up to a zoning board of adjustments tonight, and we have our packet, and
This is the first thing. Besides driving by the house to take a look at things, this is the first I've ever heard of them. So I can't answer why your neighbor did or didn't do what they decided to do.
And I think it's pretty crummy. And I'm here to support Nick and Tanya, because I wish I had time to print the pictures of my, well, I mean, if you go online and look at 107 Bedford Road, you would see what my house used to look like, my driveway used to look like, and what it looks like now. And that's the work of Nick. So,
thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Is there anyone else that's looking to speak either in favor or against of this petition? All right, I'll go ahead and close the public portion, and
Can I just say
sure, if you'd like to come right back up, please feel free.
part of what we're arguing why we should be allowed as a home occupation is the home occupation definition in the Merrimack zoning ordinance that says a non-residential use carried on within a residence or its accessory buildings, which is clearly incidental and secondary to the principal use of the property as a residence and does not change the character thereof. After making all the adjustments, like what, the complaint was about, I think we completely, non-residential, it's a secondary thing to our building, and it does not change the character thereof. Everything is kept inside, everything is neat. We're making a fence to make everything nice. So home occupation, it doesn't say about lawyers or anything. The definition of home occupation in Merrimack is a non-residential use carried on within a residence or accessory buildings. And that's exactly what we want to do. We fit the definition. We fit the laws of level 1 home occupation. That's part of why we're seeking this, is we fit the home occupation. We do not produce noxious fumes, odor, dust, vibrations in the general prohibitions. We're not expressly excluded. So, and we fit all this stuff, and that's, I just wanted to, because it was asked the definition. We fit the definition, so.
Okay, and, I don't think anybody here is saying you shouldn't have your home occupation at all. I think that the question that I brought up and the question that Patrick brought up about the variance is because typically when people want to have a home occupation, but there's some kind of a mismatch between the strict adherence to the ordinance and what you're looking to do, that's something we would normally do through a variance. It's not because we don't want it or anything like that. It's just more that if what we're appealing here is the definition of a tradesman from the, allowing that as a level 1 in here, personally, I'm not against that at all. However, the question then becomes, what is the next person who decides that they're going to want to, qualify under? Because you could be running a perfectly fine and legitimate business and something else could come down the road, but we don't get a chance to hear it here at the zoning board level because we appealed it away, so the next person gets it by default. So that's, I think, kind of the concern that we have. And that's something that we as a board need to discuss. So we're not at all talking about your
Yeah.
business. We're talking about the ramification of an appeal.
Right. I mean, we bought this house in 2015, and it was legal then, you know. Where we went wrong is we bought a boom truck. It was a coronavirus deal, and so he was like, oh, great, some foundation forms, and we put it there. And that was, we shouldn't have done that. If we knew, we wouldn't have done that, that it would be upsetting, that it would be against the, law. But
Well, if you're operating a home occupation
But it-
without our guidelines, it's still technically,
But it was like the tradesmen, like he said, they were there, they were removed this January.
yeah.
We were not trying, you know what I mean? It's not like you move to Merrimack and you get like the stuff, like just a lot of folks in America, we don't know. Like, he works, he gets up, goes, does his, your patio, then he comes home. We don't read the zoning ordinance, or like a painter, or like my dad, he didn't even know English when he came to this country, he just kept some tiles in his garage and some grout, popped it in his truck in the morning, went to do his thing, So, and it just, the tradesmen were removed, somebody chose to remove it. Like, I didn't receive a notice, in my mail that they're gonna be removed, and I'm sure lots of folks in Merrimack didn't either, So now they're illegally operating all over the town of Merrimack,
It makes sense. No, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. I
Yeah.
guess I'm just.
No, I'm sorry, it's just very upsetting,
No, I understand. I completely understand. So,
Just for clarification, if anyone who got legal administrative approval through our office under the previous zoning ordinance is not illegally operating now,
Oh.
it's a legal non-conforming business at this point. So they're still legally operating, they just don't conform to the current ordinance, but they got an approval that predates this change.
right.
But also, I read the 2016 zoning ordinance. I have it on my computer, and nowhere in it, me as like a layman reading it, it says must seek a permit. It says these uses are permitted, and it lists but it does not. There's no expressive language that it says must seek a level 1 occupation permit. So even if I read that ordinance then, like, I wouldn't have even known to get a permit,
I understand
So
that.
it's so
just-
confusing, like. Just like, the little man can't get ahead. It's like you're just trying to work, trying to do your thing. There's all these like things, spend
While
like
I-
hours
yeah.
trying to study them, like. I don't know.
Understood.
Mr. Chair, while I understand that argument, it also, that's not how zoning works. It doesn't say must get this permission, seek planning board approval for everything. It's understood that way, that's how it has to happen.
Oh,
Like, it's
I'm aware.
understood by some people, but like, I think if you ask a guy, wearing a construction outfit in the morning, hey, do you understand this? They'd be like, what? What are you talking about, man? I'm just painting this house, So, I don't know, most folks that we know working construction, people don't know. Like, when we talk to our contractor friends, they're like, what? I should go check my town thing. Like, people just don't know,
Oh, and these ordinances do vary from area
Yeah.
to area, so it's,
But most folks don't even know to go to the ordinance, I went to public school, we read like Lord of the Flies, but we don't, nobody says like expressly, oh, depending on your business, you should go, like, we just don't, if you don't know, how do you know, So,
Absolutely.
that's all, anyway, sorry, thank
No,
you for your time. I
that's
really
okay.
appreciate, you guys hearing us out, and I'm sorry it took so long.
that's okay. All right, so questions, comments from the board, thoughts, motion?
I strongly suggest that as individuals, they should do the variance. I wholeheartedly agree with that, what they're trying to do. And my concern is permitting a broad permission for other contractors that may not, like Patrick had said, that may not want to be the good neighbors and follow the rules like they're trying to do. So with that in mind, like I said, I would suggest a variance. I think from some of the conversation, we all are kind of in favor of what they're trying to do as individual small business. However, the concern is the broad base that we could allow, similar to what we ran across, I think it was last month,
Yep,
when somebody was asking for something that we agreed was a good idea. However, we were concerned about the ramifications down the road if we said yes.
normally 9 times out of 10, and I think I'm just gonna emulate what Patrick was saying earlier, but 9 times out of 10, I'm completely in favor of variance over administrative appeal because of things like this. But where I'm scratching my head is that tradesmen, that was allowed before and it's not allowed now. Honestly, I didn't know that. I honestly think that maybe we should consider an appeal.
You want to make a motion? You want to make a motion?
Not yet, I think I'd like to hear some more conversation with other people.
I've only been on the zoning board for 2 years, so I don't have the history to go back to when it was first changed, but I have a copy of the 2016 ordinance, and it explicitly says there, no contractor or tradesman may store building materials or construction equipment on his premises. May store, only within existing structures. Okay? That's what it said in 2016. When it was wide open, meaning anybody could do it, I don't know when that was. Was it before then?
2014.
2014? Okay. My feeling is that if we approve the administrative appeal, we open a Pandora's box to each and every tradesman in the town to do what they want. And that's something that will not enhance the harmonious residential living in this town. And so I'm agreeing with Rod that this should go for a variance and not just be handled by a administrative overrule or overrule an administrative decision that was handed down. I understand where our applicant is coming from, and I do share sympathy with some of the things she's saying. But by the same token, I think where we're responsible for the zoning across the whole town, we have to keep in mind the big picture and the totality of the town. And that's why I say we can't open Pandora's box. If there's a way someone on staff can help them through, explain to them how to do the variance application. Obviously, it's new to them. Their contractors are not fancy business people. So it would be nice if we had someone that could answer their questions, not tell them what to do on it, but just answer their questions so they understand how they're gonna go about it. That's my thoughts.
Again, my thought is that if they came to us next month with the same information, I would approve the variance. My concern is the broad approval.
All right. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we deny the appeal for Nikolay and Tanya Karpanoff, petitioner owner, appeal of administrative decision determining that the current use of the property is a contractor yard per the town zoning ordinance. The parcel is located at 109 Bedford Road in the R1 Residential by Soils and Aquifer Conservation Districts. Tax map 6C, lot 194, case ZBA 2021-17.
Mr. Chair, if I could, again, that language is problematic because that's not really what they're doing. So I would suggest that it be amended to say that they're looking, the decision that a contractor yard can operate as a home occupation.
Would you like me to say that, or did
Yeah,
you just say it?
instead of, yeah, or you could say what he said or whatever.
What he said.
Just to
What-
clarify
what-
the records for what the
yeah, what
motion
Robert
actually
Price
is
said,
being
yep.
made.
That they are looking for permission to operate the home
Contractor yard.
contractor yard as a home business.
Yep.
I second.
All right. Motion made to deny the appeal by Rodney, seconded by Drew. All in favor to deny the appeal? All against denying the appeal? So, 3-0. The appeal has been denied. Please, I hope to see you guys next month with a variance. I don't want anything bad to happen, please. All right. Next item on the agenda. Eric's Custom Exhaust petitioner and D. Kern LLC special exception under 2.02.3C1 of the zoning ordinance to permit an automobile service and repair station in the C2 General Commercial District. The parcel is located at 386 Daniel Webster Highway in the C2 General Commercial Aquifer Conservation Elderly Zoning Districts. Tax map 4D-3, lot 28, case ZBA 2021-18.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Dave Kerner. I'm the owner of D. Kern 2,
Okay.
386 Daniel Webster Highway. I purchased the land and building and business in 1998. And in November of 2020, Eric Ortiz here, I leased it out to him, and he's doing custom exhaust work as well as the repairs. The previous owners were doing repairs, oil changes, prior to my owning it for about 6-7 years. We don't know what happened, whether or not what happened before then, but we tried to get a repair plate from the state, and the state had indicated that we're in the wrong, well, they sent the letter to the town of Merrimack, and the town of Merrimack refused it. And Rob, we responded very quickly the next day, and said that I believe we're in a commercial zone, we need to be in an industrial zone. From what I understand, like I said, I've been there for 23 years. The previous owner was there for 6. We do oil changes, car washes, general repairs. Eric specializes in custom exhaust. Basically, the landing building, nothing has changed on it at all. It's got 2 bays of car washing, and then it has 4 bays of repairs. Also a waiting room as well. So what we're looking to do is obviously, hopefully get this special exception so we can move on and continue with our businesses.
Absolutely. So if you could, I see that there's 4 criteria to meet the special exception. So what I would ask you to do is to read through each of the criteria
Sure.
and stop at the end of each one in case we have questions.
Okay. We offer many services such as oil change, car wash, repair services to the community. That's number 1. I should say A.
All right. I'm sorry, if you could, just so we're all on the same page, if you could just read out the actual bullet A and then what you've put.
Okay. The specific site is appropriate location for such a use or uses in terms of overall community development because we offer many services such as oil change, car wash, repair services to the community.
All right. Any questions from the board? All right, please continue.
The use as developed will not adversely affect the neighborhood because the building premises has been an oil change, car wash, repair shop for the past 30 years.
It says 20 years here.
Well, I'm going by the previous owner as well.
Ah. Okay. All right, and the next one?
There will be no nuisance or serious hazards to vehicles or pedestrians because the building is far enough from the street that can cause a hazard. We have a large lot with access completely around the building and adequate parking.
All right, any questions from the board? No, we can discuss that. I think Actually, maybe it's worth, so.
Yeah, it's worth having the initial conversation.
So there have been some concerns addressed that there may be noise associated with this business.
So when you're under where you have where it says there will be no nuisance or serious hazard, there's been, some people have expressed some concerns regarding, reckless driving, resulting in, burnouts and, other loud, what would be considered nuisance or dangerous. Is, I don't know, if you wanna address that, or?
I can answer that. Some of the burnouts and stuff like that.
Can you,
oh,
can you
sorry.
make sure the light's on?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, great.
First name Eric, last name Ortiz. I can respectfully answer to that. The burnouts were done after hours. I have no control over that. What
Okay.
people do after hours and stuff like that, that's not under my control. If they would do it while my business is open, I obviously confront it and, address the situation and the problem. My exhaust systems are 100% state legal, which they require a catalytic converter and muffler. There's no noise decibel for a vehicle in the state of New Hampshire. There is for motorcycles.
Mhm.
So I follow all rules and regulations per state inspection of the state.
So I'm just curious, the people that are, if you are kind of aware that people are doing the burnouts and stuff, I'm just curious, are they your employees or are they just?
No,
they
there's just people.
People showing up?
Just people showing up. I used to work at Lou's Custom Exhaust in Manchester.
Yep, another place.
They would do the same thing. You'd see the whole street, 3 o'clock in the morning doing, we actually caught one on camera that flipped 7 times across the parking lot.
Okay.
Because obviously people get excited, It's a grown man's toy, basically.
Right.
I try my hardest to prevent that from happening. I tell people, take it easy, leave slow. There's obviously a restaurant next to me that I'm very good with the owner,
Mhm.
and we talk a lot, and obviously we have a lot of respect for each other to the point where I don't allow anything like that to happen. You know what I mean? He's also asked me respectfully to not have any customers park on his parking lot, which I respect that, because if anything happens on his property, it's
He's liable for it, yeah.
he's liable for.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that way, if anybody parks in his parking lot, I tell them immediately to move and to sit in my parking lot.
And I have several other locations, car washes, and, I get video with guys, I just had the parking lot seal coated, and a guy did a burnout, and I caught him on tape, got his license plate, and I actually filed charges against the guy.
Right.
It was 3 o'clock in the morning, but I just had the parking lot sealed, and
I get it.
I was able to get, he ended up paying me to have it repaired, but it happens.
No, just out of curiosity, since you just brought it up, is that lot, do you have cameras on the lot, or?
Absolutely.
Yes,
You do?
yes.
Okay. All right. Because I know custom exhaust can get pretty expensive, so you don't get
It's,
those.
I have a lot of inventory, a lot of
Yeah.
merchandise, a lot of customer vehicles, whether it's regular cars or expensive cars. So I try to
Yeah.
keep everything under control, because God forbid somebody loses control,
Yeah.
being stupid, and hits a $50,000 vehicle. I'm reliable for that,
Yeah.
not them. So in that case, I do prevent things like that from happening while it's under my control.
Okay.
When I'm not there, I obviously
Well,
can't
yeah,
run
obviously,
back to
you know,
this.
can't expect you to be there 24/7,
Right.
okay.
All right, so if you want to move on to D.
Yeah, adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided for proper operation of the proposed users or users, because we have 6 bays, we have 2 oil changes, 2 oil change bays, 2 for repair, 2 for the car wash. We've made updates and new equipment and provide a clean waiting area for the customers.
All right. That seems very cut and dry, actually. Cool thing with a special exception is it's an acceptable use. It's not a variance. So with that being said, if it's okay with you guys, I'd like to open up the public portion and
Sure.
just have people speak. And we do have a couple of letters that we have to read in. very opinionated, but we'll get to that as well.
Okay?
And then at the end, you can come back up and address
Okay.
any of the commentary. All right, thank you. Is there anyone that's looking to speak in favor of this petition? Is there anyone looking to speak against this petition? All right. I will go ahead and read in some of the comments that we have received. This one looks like it's from Vasilios, and they state, I have some concerns. The parking situation, they don't have enough. It looks like a junkyard. As you can see, they are past their property line in the corner. We share an entrance and exit. They come in the exit side all the time. I have complained twice. I almost got hit once. Eric himself said he outgrew the establishment, so I go through with this. I attached some pictures to see the lack of parking and how they park against the median on our side. If I go out to say something to their customers, I get yelled at by their customers and become the bad guy. I hope this is enough. I would have come to the meeting, but I'm up north on vacation. Their next comment, I forgot one more thing. They do donuts in my parking lot when we close in the afternoon to run errands. I've been told by West Bell Electronics, and they've attached some pictures. Another one here, and this is from Class Motor. I understand there is a meeting regarding Eric's at 386 DW Highway. I have had my business for 30 years at 390 DW and would like to express my concerns. One, general appearance. It looks like a junkyard. They don't have zoning restrictions limiting the number of vehicles parked and forbidding parking on green areas. Safety. They conduct burnout shows on a regular basis. The smell of smoke fills our property and is a huge safety concern. 3, ATVs ridden through neighboring properties with children on them with no helmets, though I will say I have not seen reckless speeds. 4, I have heard they are selling cars from that location. Are they approved by the town and hold a New Hampshire dealer's license as required if they have sold more than 5 vehicles? Thank you for your attention as I cannot make the meeting. Regards. All right, so that's from Andrew Davenport. I don't think this one has a.
It's anonymous.
All right, so this one's anonymous. Message, I am a business owner on DW Highway. I will remain anonymous due to fear of retaliation. The board has a request for a special variance at Wednesday's meeting to allow full-service auto repair at 386 DW Highway. I could say that Eric's Custom Exhaust is a nuisance. They are conducting illegal business at that location, including illegal inspections and buying and selling vehicles, which legally requires a dealer's license. Their customers do burnouts on the road, as seen on their social media pages. There is no doubt that their business is contaminating the ground with oil and other hazardous substances. This variance needs to be denied. There's a good reason why it was zoned to exclude this type of business in the first place. Please respect us business owners in the surrounding area. I would ask that you guys come back up. And just first and foremost, a lot of the stuff in here is obviously highly opinionated, and we're not looking at a variance anyway, which we know.
I think it's pretty funny, to be honest with you.
Well, I think, some people there, right next door, there's service garages right around me. There's one right next door. As far as, I'm not aware, I'm not there every day, but about these burnouts, I think someone's taken it a little bit too far on that one. Obviously, there's some competitive out there. Eric's doing extremely well at his shop. Obviously, could be some taking a business away from somebody else, but I think it's being a little exaggerated, as far as I'm concerned. Like I said, the garage next door, he's selling cars. Eric does not, he sold a few cars, but he's not selling cars anymore.
No, they were my personal vehicles.
Yeah,
That were sitting around for a while. But as far as selling cars, I do not sell cars.
yeah. And he's also licensed by the state of New Hampshire to do state inspections. That accusations, I have 2 other shops. The state police are very, very strict on if there's any violations, they will come down, and you can't afford to lose your license. I can tell you that. And they take routine inspections just to come down and make sure you're doing everything right. So nothing on that shop is illegal.
And not only that, the reason for an inspection is to make sure that everybody in the street is riding legally and there's no, nothing wrong with their vehicle. That's the whole part of an inspection, you know. So you bring your car in, you get it all looked at, so you drive safe down the road. So if I sit there and do illegal inspections, I lose not only money, but I put other people in danger. So it's not my character. I've never done that. You know what I mean? I'm here, I work hard, I take care of all my customers as well. That's what made my name what it is today, you know? And I didn't do it because I'm doing illegal things, you know what I mean? Anybody can do illegal things, I don't.
Oh, I completely agree. I've definitely heard of shops that were fraudulently giving out stickers, and the state cracked down fast, very
Yeah,
fast.
You lose your license.
Yeah.
And you could lose it for 30 days, it could be up to a year.
I worked
And-
at one that I actually left because the owner was asking me to do illegal things, and I said, no, I left. Because it's not it's not me, it's not who I am. I care enough about people to where I care about their safety, because they're not carrying themselves, but they're also carrying their families and stuff like that. So God forbid they go down the road, lose their brakes or something like that, and they get into a car accident, who's liable? Not them, I am.
Absolutely.
So everything comes back on me, you see what I'm saying? As a business owner, as me doing inspection stickers for you, or whoever it is, it all comes back on me. Because when you get into a car accident, state law, they come and look at the inspection sticker, that's the first thing they look at. Who inspected this car? Why did you get into a car accident? You know what I mean? They do all these sorts of investigations, and I know because I've been involved in one, and they say, you know, why wasn't this car safe? This car shouldn't have been on the road, you know? So, hands-on, I've been in that situation myself, not because I did a illegal inspection sticker, but because I was involved in a motor vehicle accident, you know, and that's the first thing they look at.
Oh, absolutely.
But as far as people saying that we do burnouts and this and that, I honestly can tell you, I only have 3 skid marks in my driveway, not done by any of us or any employees, and there's no skid marks on the streets, and if we're allowed, it's legal. It's not illegal. You have catalytic converters, you have mufflers put on every vehicle, and I tell every customer, it's gotta be legal. It has to be, because if you're gonna try to come back and have me put an inspection sticker on it, I won't. You know what I mean? So, I follow all the rules.
All right, and, you know, like we said, I have my own opinions about those
And
comments.
it's funny because I talked to the owner of Mr. G's this morning. As a matter of fact, we sat there for a half hour, and he was thanking me of how good of a work that I've been doing. Because at first, yeah, it was kind of hectic with all the cars and stuff like that. Because obviously, I'm a very loyal person, and I created a good name for myself. So that way, I try to keep all the things from happening in his parking lot. And if we're doing donuts in the parking lot, it's because we're testing the vehicle out for a wheel bearing problem or anything like that. We're not purposely going on his property and doing cyclones and acting all crazy, you know what I mean? So we take corners and stuff like that, slow, to make sure that, you know, if somebody's complaining about a clunking noise or a wheel bearing noise or something like that, obviously we gotta go in circles, or an axle braking, you know, makes clicking noises. So we gotta figure things out like that. You know, sometimes we use this parking lot, sometimes we don't. Like I asked
I don't
him,
see that being any different from any other shop either.
Yeah.
like I asked
exactly.
him, I did an oil change in his parking lot on the RV. Me being a business owner, and respectfully, I asked him, I said, hey, listen, I don't have the space to do an oil change on his, in my property. Can I please do it in your parking lot? I make sure I clean up after myself, and you won't have any mess or anything. He said, yeah, sure, no problem. So why the letter? I don't understand.
I have a question. And I've driven by a couple times. I know the shop, and I have seen cars. Actually, it was interesting. One of the pictures that they sent, I know you haven't seen it, but there's 3 cars parked right out by the blue sign. but you have a lot of parking spots as well. I'm just kind of curious as why so many cars are not, why didn't you just park in the parking spots? I'm just
What do you
curious.
mean?
Well, there's a lot of
So-
cars like parked on the edges.
So on
And
the-
not necessarily, I know there's a bunch of parking spots, like right before the bay, like right before the bays, there's like probably a
in the-
dozen parking spots.
Right,
Just
so in the
curious.
back parking spots, employees park there, cars parked there that are waiting for parts and stuff like that, so, you know, obviously, if parts are special order that, for mechanical, we have to leave the cars there.
Yeah.
We run out of space. In the front, obviously, the cars that are being picked up for the day, when we get them in and get them done, we park them in the front
Okay.
as courtesy for the customers. So the cars that are sitting there waiting for parts or mechanical work or anything like that, we put them in the back. That way we know that they need work to be done.
You guys keep cars overnight?
Yeah, of course.
Do you put them in the garage or you leave them out in the parking lot?
No, we leave them on the parking lot.
Okay.
Or, you know, if they have to come in, if, like, a customer says, hey, I don't want this car being left outside, and he says, can we respectfully put it inside for the night? Sure, we do it all the time.
You guys don't operate any type of impound lot or anything
Oh,
like
no,
that?
God,
have to-
No.
Cars.
These
towed
cars
in.
move, they move, and if they're, like I said.
So
if
people
they're-
just come in and get their car taken care of and then?
Yeah.
go?
Right.
Okay, all right. I'm just curious.
So the person you referred to as Mr. G, is that Vasilios?
Yes.
The person who sent us the
Yeah.
pictures? And this is the person whose lot you did an oil change on?
Yeah,
Interesting.
and before I did it, I asked him respectfully, and he said, yeah, no problem, go ahead, you guys are doing fantastic. This was last week.
Okay.
Quick question, when businesses open in town, one of the questions that's asked, and I guess I'm directing this a little bit towards Mr. Price, there has to be a certain amount of parking spaces for each business. I remember a couple months ago, there was a nail salon up by DCU and the outlets, and they were concerned about parking spaces. I'm looking at these pictures, and I don't know how often it happens, but there's cars up in the grass in between the median into the neighbor's driveway. Would it be the neighbor's choice to go to the town and say they've allotted 30 spots, but they're using those 30 and they're overlapping into mine? How, like I said, I'm
We're not
assuming-
using his,
We-
we're not using his spots.
No, we never overlapped to his area at
Yeah,
all.
he's talking about there's an encroachment in the back on the lot line where maybe a bumper's going over it. Because right down that median, we own
Half of it.
half of it.
Okay,
And if we have to utilize half of it, we do to park the car there temporarily. Not for weeks, not for months.
Right.
I've only been open 7 months, and it's only temporarily cars.
But we
that are
don't
being
park
brought.
on his parking lot at all. We don't use his parking lot at all.
Also keep in mind, that's more of a planning. That's more planning.
right, but what I'm asking is, the reason I'm asking that is part of his concern that the letter was written was the parking in the spots, overlapping parking, and of course, these pictures showing what appears to be your cars on his side on the parking lot. So I was asking, I know it's not so much our decision, but would it be that the complainer or the concerned neighbor to come to you and say they're overextending their parking?
That would be a first step, because at that point, we would pull the site plan and start to review that stuff. In this particular case, there is no approved site plan for this use.
Okay.
So that would have ultimately triggered this process anyway. So just to fill the board in for informational purposes, when we got triggered from the state to permit the license that they were looking for, we have to do a review of our files to make sure that they comply with all the zoning and everything. When I went through the files, I found that a variance was granted in 1987 specific to auto service. Repair work was not a part of that, and the applicant at that time testified that they would not do repair work. Now, that's over 30 years ago. So and the zoning ordinance has changed since then. So now it's a special exception activity, and the applicant now is going through the correct process to try to get all that stuff legally permitted. So in terms of the comments that were raised by the folks that emailed in, a lot of it seems like police issues and planning board issues that will be resolved as a part of that planning board process, which is their next step, should the special exception be granted.
Thank you.
I have another thing to say too. So when the state comes down and approves me for the inspection station, I have to be approved not only for the facility, but for parking as well. So they measure the whole building, they measure the parking lot to approve. I have to be approved a certain amount of parking spaces and certain square footage of the building, as well as a waiting office for the customers and stuff like that. So I was approved of all that. The reason why we're here today, obviously, was because I'm trying to get a repair plate, because if I get cars that are not, from dealerships that are not registered or anything like that, and I fix them, and I have to take them for a test drive to make sure that they're okay, I need a repair plate, not a dealership. It's like a dealer plate, but it's not. It allows me to drive a vehicle that is not registered on the road, but I'm responsible for after the mechanical issues are fixed, to make sure that everything's fixed.
Okay.
So yes, I did get approval of everything, square footage and parking and everything like that through the state, and that's why I have an inspection station under my name.
All right, any further questions or comments from the board? All right. In that case, thank you, and I guess now what we do is deliberate.
Given that highway, given that part of Daniels Highway, there's a repair shop right next door. And there's, there's another place, and a little bit, couple doors down, actually, maybe it's right around Mr. G's. It looks like an insurance company, and there's cars for sale in front, and that, in front of there, you always see high-end cars and for sale there. And I know up in Columbia Circle, there's repair shops and in industry. So, me personally, I don't see a problem with this. I don't see a problem with, approving this from that perspective.
And actually, what I was going to say was that this is a special exception, not a variance. With a variance, obviously, we're looking to bend the rules. With a special exception, they're completely within their right. So if we were to not pass a special exception, there would have to be a clear violation of one of these 4 criteria. So that is just something that I wanted to make sure I pointed out.
The other thing is, it's important to note, and it was brought up here, and I happen to know this because I worked in service stations a long time ago. But I do know that if they have to go and get a site plan approval, and Rob, you can back me up on this, if they're gonna get a plan board approval, then as far as dumping chemicals or dumping oil, that all has to be
That's all a part of that
approved
site plan process.
And they have to go through the process of saying how that's taken care of, and then state's involved, so it's not as easy as just pouring it down the drain. And if they did, that would be very, very, very bad for them. So, and they have to go through that approval process as well. So I understand that the individual's concerns, but when it comes to getting a shop approved, I know that there's a lot of other things that we're not even seeing beyond this, so that they have to go through. So that's my thought.
It's up to you guys.
Anybody? If that's the case, I'll make a motion to approve Eric's custom exhaust petitioner and D. Curran 2 LLC owner special exception under section 2.02.3C1 of the zoning ordinance to permit an automobile service and repair station in the C2 General Commercial District. The parcel is located at 386 Daniel Webster Highway in the C2 General Commercial Aquifer Conservation Elderly Zoning Districts, Tax Map 4D-3, Lot 028, case number ZBA 2021-18. Should the board find the special exception criteria have met, staff recommends that an approval be conditioned upon the following: that the petitioner shall obtain full site plan approval from the planning board for the proposed automobile service and repair use.
All right, motion made by Patrick, seconded by Rodney. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, 5-0-0. So that passes. And just so you guys know, there is a 30-day window where someone could appeal it. However, that's just, yeah, it's just a disclaimer.
That doesn't necessarily mean that they win, right? If they choose to appeal
I don't know that I could really explain the reasons why people choose to appeal, but the only way in which we would listen to an appeal, so if someone came to appeal this, they would have to provide something material that was left out of this presentation. If they're not able to provide anything with material, then chances are,
have to be a strong, like a serious, strong.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, more, and when that happens, it's brought to us, we do not communicate with the public. We decide whether or not we're gonna rehear a case. So if that happens, there's really nothing that you need to do on your part. We would just discuss whether or not we need to rehear the case. So, thank
Good
you.
luck.
All right, next petition is Richard Moran, petitioner owner, variance under section 3.05 of the zoning ordinance to permit the construction of a detached garage 15 feet from the front property line, whereas 30 feet is required. Parcel is located at 125 Amherst Road in the R1 residential by map in Aquifer Conservation Districts, tax map 4B, lot 83, case ZBA 2021-19.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Chris Condon, and I'm here with Richard Moran.
I'm the residents of 125 Amherst Road.
Okay.
And I'm across the street at 126. So Richard basically, I'm his neighbor and his friend, and he asked me to come and speak on his behalf.
Okay.
So basically, a variance is requested from section 3.02. Currently, as you stated, do you want me to just restate what you said? We're basically, there's currently a 30-foot setback, and
Yeah, so I would say just tell us a little bit about the reason why you're here tonight, and then when you get to the part where you read through each of the 5 criteria, we just ask that you stop at the end in case we have questions
Sure.
about that bullet. So,
basically, Richard has a very unusual lot. There's not a lot of depth to it. Basically, 60 feet from the road itself, the actual asphalt, there's a 40-foot drop-off that is basically straight down. And his lot has really no location to put a garage in except for this one narrow strip. And unfortunately, to get a size garage that he wants, we're trying to get, to make it fit where we're not up against, that 40-foot drop-off. And again, he's constructing it, but I'm just trying to talk on his behalf. But so he's kind of stuck, Currently, the house actually sits, I think, 19 feet off the setback. So something must have maybe back in the time when the house was constructed. I'm not sure how what was done then, but so we're trying to see what we can do here to kind of accommodate for this unusual lot that he has.
excellent.
So that's kind of where we're at.
I got to say that this is probably one of the most common types of petitions that we hear because we have so many non-conforming lots in this town.
Yeah.
And, a lot of homeowners that want to stay in Merrimack look to build a garage, so.
Yeah, and his, literally, it's straight down.
Yeah.
It's not even like a gradual slope, so he's trying to keep it away from that, but unfortunately, now we're approaching into that 30-foot setback, so that's kind of where we're at.
All right, excellent. So if you'd like, if you could just please go through the
Okay.
5 criteria, and if we have questions, we'll ask at the end of each one.
Okay, number 1, granting the variance would not be contrary to public interest. This garage will not alter the character of the neighborhood. Again, he's right off of Amherst Road, so it's not really a neighborhood. Threaten public safety, health, or welfare of the community.
Any questions from the board? All right, please continue.
Number 2, the spirit of the ordinance is observed because the proposed garage will uphold the spirit of the ordinance. So, we're really quite sure how to answer that one, It didn't really,
So the ordinance is in place to prevent people from dropping a garage right on the property line, for example. So granted, this is my opinion and does not apply to your case per se, but the spirit of the ordinance could be observed because strict adherence would mean dropping the garage off off of a drop-off, as you put it, right behind the property. So there's no way to strictly adhere to the ordinance in that reason. And I think we understand that, and you did a good job of explaining that earlier. Did anyone have any questions about that? No. Please
Thank you for
continue.
that clarification. Number 3, granting the variance would do substantial justice because the benefit of the proposed garage would provide much-needed storage with the area's present use. I mean, basically, you know, instead of putting all Richard's, what he wants to, you know, what he has for belongings, you know.
Got my antique I gotta put in there.
Yeah, he has an old truck. So, but it would look much better that if it was inside of a garage than all over his yard, you know, basically.
All right, any questions from the board?
I couldn't tell from the house diagram, do you presently have a garage?
I
Or
got
not?
it with the house, yeah.
You do.
It's very small, though.
It's
So
very
this
small.
is an additional garage, and you said you're gonna use it for storage, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned his antique.
My
His
antique and the
value.
tractor and all that, lawnmower.
Okay.
I got a four-wheeler. Plus I got my regular truck I drive every day, my wife's car.
Thank you.
All right, please continue.
Number 4, for the following reasons, the values of the surrounding properties will not be diminished. The proposed garage will comply with the use of the property. Current properties on the street are really not visible from the street. The garage should not adversely affect the current surrounding property values. I think there's only one neighbor that you can really kind of see the house from the street.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem being in the neighbor across the street of him, you know, constructing this garage myself, but as far as property values, I wouldn't think it would really have any adverse effects.
I guess the only, I do have a question. I'm just trying to find out if, do we have anything on the garage itself?
He has plans here, I can kind of show you. It's just basically one of those,
It's a steel garage, like a dome.
I don't know if this is like
Yeah.
the exact one you're doing, but that's kind of a
Oh,
similar-
okay. All right.
Yeah.
So it's a one-car bay?
It's gonna be like actually two cars.
Oh, okay. Side by, so,
But
25
he-
by, 25 by 37.
okay.
But he's gonna side the front of it, it'll look like, it'll match his house. The only thing you're really gonna see that would not be, would be unique would be this
I'm gonna put
dome, the
front of
silver
it, like same color,
dome.
it's gonna be the same color of the house.
There are a few of those in town currently.
I guess what I'm kind of also confused by is, in looking at the map from Meridian Land Services, I'm trying to
Yes.
understand where the drop-off is.
If you see that kind of jagged line right there? That's basically the entire, it's his entire lot. It just drops. See the jagged line right there?
Right here?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and they got the along the toe of the slope. So basically, that's roughly where it starts.
So is there, I guess, is there a reason why the garage is placed where it is and not further back? If there's,
Well, if this really doesn't show a very good example, but if we, basically, I think it's roughly 20 feet from where where the side of the garage is, maybe even less than that, is where it drops off. There's not much space there.
okay.
Because basically, 60 feet from the actual asphalt is the 40-foot drop-off. So we've got 30 feet already with the setback.
I
And
see.
then you get 25 feet for the actual garage. So we're only looking at a difference of like roughly, 5 feet or so.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
That's why we're trying to bring the garage closer to the actual
Yeah.
street.
All right.
We've only got 60 feet, and with, you know, with the setback and everything, we're not a lot of room to play with there at all.
All right, that makes sense. Sorry, I was having a hard time visualizing it. With the
Yeah,
map, so
no, I wish we could have brought pictures, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's very unique lot.
All right.
It's actually like an acre and a half I can't use because of the drop-off.
Yeah, that's not drop-offs, but typically with wetlands, there's a lot of areas in Merrimack where there's unfortunately a lot of land
Yeah.
that can't be built on. So,
You
totally.
could build a
understood.
rock climbing wall there. You know?
All right.
Young kids would love it.
It's true.
It's a good thing he doesn't have young kids, because he'd lose them.
But please continue.
Okay, so number 5, the unnecessary hardship. Basically, this property at 125 Amherst Road has an unusual lot. As we stated before, 60 feet from the road, has a 40-foot drop-off, and the 30-foot setback does not allow enough room to build the garage. The current house is actually 19 feet from the current setback. And he's just trying to request, you know, a 15-foot setback where there currently is, you know, 30-foot requirement on the front. Number 2, the proposed use is a reasonable one because the special condition of the property mentioned causes the proposed garage to be reasonable. The proposed garage will not alter the character of the surrounding homes.
All right. Thank you, and I think that does qualify for unnecessary hardship. Any questions from the board on this project?
Standard, I mean, how many, it's a non-conforming lot, I mean, you see these all the time. This is,
Yep.
in my opinion, it's pretty straightforward.
Oh, I agree. Just doing the formalities. So at this time, what I would like to do is open the public portion of this, so I just ask that you please return to your seats. And thank you again for your presentation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone that's looking to speak in favor of this petition? Is there anyone that's looking to speak against this petition? All right, I'll go ahead and close it.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve Richard Moran, petitioner owner variance under section 3.05 of the zoning ordinance to permit the construction of a detached garage 15 feet from the property line, whereas 30 feet is required. The parcel is located at 125 Amherst Road in the R1 residential by map in the Aquifer Conservation District's tax map 4B lot 083, case number ZBA 2021-19.
All right, motion made by Patrick, seconded by Drew. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So 5-0-0, and like before, there is a 30-day window where somebody could appeal this decision. But other than that, congratulations and good luck.
Thank you for your help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Next petition.
Mr. Chair, I would suggest you open items 8 and 9 together because they're intertwined.
Understood. All right, so I will read in items 8 and 9. Robert Jones, petitioner owner, variance under section 3.02 of the zoning ordinance to permit a lot following a lot line adjustment with 18,644 square feet of lot area, whereas 40,000 square feet is required, and 120 feet of frontage, whereas 150 feet is required. Parcels located at 47 Lamson Drive in the R4 residential district, tax map 2B, lot 175, case ZBA 2021-20. And the next item is Robert Jones and Lloyd McLean, owner, variance under section 3.02 of the zoning ordinance to permit a lot following a lot line adjustment with 27,628 square feet of lot area, whereas 40,000 square feet is required. Parcels located at 19 Winchester Drive in the R4 residential district, tax map 2B, lot 176, case ZBA 2021-21. So who will be speaking on this petition?
Robert Jones.
Excellent.
So I'll just give you a little bit of commentary around it. So we are 2 houses abutting the side yard to the backyard. Lamson Drive facing this way, Winchester Drive this way. So our side yard abuts their backyard.
Okay.
I think for any number of years, there's been a pretty non-discriminate kind of property line. It was a rock wall. I was preparing to do some work in the yard, so I went and got it surveyed. And when the surveyors came, we were surprised as to where the actual property line was. And we said this is like 30 feet in the other direction. Great neighbors. They've always been very supportive of my father when he lived in the house, and now my mother, who lives in the house that is owned by myself and my sister. And we're asking for a variance so that we can adjust that property line to the natural boundary of the rock wall that is there. And if we get the approval today through the zoning variance, then we'll take it forward to the planning board for a property line adjustment.
Excellent. So, it looks like you're taking a chunk of property from one and passing it on to the other?
Yeah, about 20% of the current lot. Excuse me, lot size. 20% of the current lot, or 4,800 square feet. Yeah. Yep. I think the numbers that you have referenced and the numbers that I have on this plan might be slightly different, but when the final plan is put together for planning board, the numbers will all be jived up.
Okay. All right, so
You ready?
if you'd like to step through the criteria, yeah,
Yeah, sure.
absolutely.
So I mean, I know I just gave you a little bit of dialogue around it, but I'll say, in order to permit a lot line adjustment between these two properties resulting in two current legal non-conforming lots requesting waivers for future non-conformity, square footage on lot 2B 176 and square footage and frontage on lot 2B 175. Good? Okay.
Thank you.
Granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest because both properties in question, Lot 2B 175 and 2B 176, are both currently legal non-conforming lots. As these lots have been non-conforming since the 1975-76 timeframe, it is not likely that any lot line adjustment would change the nature of the neighborhood or have any negative impact on the public interest. After adjustment of Lot 2B 175 would drop in square foot and maintain its current frontage, Lot 2B 176 would increase in square feet and maintain its frontage. The spirit of the ordinance is observed because the spirit of the ordinance is observed as the adjustment does not offer the possibility of future development, does not impact the character of the neighborhood, or have any negative impact on the public health, safety, or welfare. Good to proceed?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Granting the variance would do substantial justice because each property owner agrees we need to establish a firm, recognizable boundary between the properties. To continue with our current boundary, located in the middle of an unrecognizable grassy area, creates opportunity for future boundary disputes and complicated real estate transactions. Granting the variance would protect each property owner's interests and prevent disagreements in the future. Granting the variance would not diminish the values of surrounding properties because the adjustment impacts two specific abutting properties, does not alter any external property lines, and offers no greater ability for development. The adjusted boundary exists on the side of Lot 2B 175 and the rear of Lot 2B 176. The rock wall suggested to be used has served as the natural boundary for a number of years. Moving to this location offers no impact to any surrounding properties.
And before we continue unnecessary hardship, are there any questions from the board at all on any of this?
I have a question.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, how tall is the rock wall?
Like typical New England style rock wall. It's a little bit
3
taller
feet?
in some areas because the yard kind of slopes a little bit. So there's more rocks to it. Towards the
Yeah.
back, it's 2 feet.
Okay. And how old is it approximately?
So
Is
we
it-
moved
is it
in
antique?
1976 and a majority of it was there. And then as they've done some work in the backyard, some more of the rock wall has continued down.
Okay, so it's, could be 40-plus years.
Yep.
Good. Just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know I don't look that old, I know.
True.
Right.
Me neither.
Yeah. Unnecessary hardship. Owing to the following special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, explain how no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to the property. The properties in question were subdivided and built upon well before the current zoning ordinances were in effect. As existing non-conforming lots, updates in Merrimack zoning ordinance necessitate that any changes to the lots require approval from the zoning and planning board. Adjusting the boundary between 2B 175 and 2B 176 does not provide for the opportunity for, does not provide the opportunity for the lots to be used in any manner for which they are not currently being used. Strictly residential homes. No negative impact to the surrounding properties or the town of Merrimack will be realized. And I'm sorry, I had one more line in there. Post-adjustment, the property will still be used in the exact fashion it has been since it was built. Residential units offering no change in use given the variance. And then I did not do the or section there.
And I think that's perfectly fine. This seems actually very cut and dry as well, so I would say, since I'm assuming the second petition is basically the same thing from the other property.
It is actually what I would call a copy and paste.
Ah. Then in that case, I will definitely spare you the effort of reading all of that in a second time.
No, the neighbor wants me to, yeah. He's good, he's good.
Well, you can make your neighbor do it too, I mean. If you could, I'd like to open the public portion and ask you to return back to your seat.
Yep.
So is there anyone that's looking to speak in favor of this petition? Or petitions?
I didn't swear in.
Didn't swear in?
I didn't raise my hand.
Here's your chance. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Absolutely. If you could just come up to the microphone just so that we can.
You'll be able to hear me, trust me. Years ago, I spoke to Rob's dad because I had a vision for my yard, and I asked him where the boundary was, and he told me the telephone pole right across the stone wall. And for the 24 years that I lived in that house, that's what we went by. Irrigation, dog wall, I mean, it's all there. And my shock when Rob came and said, we got a slight problem here. But we worked it out. Like that lady got up and said, we're good neighbors. We worked it out between neighbors. Now we just gotta get approval from the town.
So strict adherence would mean that somebody's irrigation would be on somebody else's property?
Whether yes, the nutshell, yes. I'm into his yard a little bit. Yeah, exactly.
No. I was gonna say, you just, that should have been in the unnecessary hardship. If we don't get this, I mean, we gotta cut up our yard and dig out our irrigation.
Can you state your name for the record, please?
Lloyd McLean,
He did
owner
at the
of
beginning.
19 Winchester Drive.
All right.
All right, thank you so much. Anyone else looking to speak in favor of this petition or petitions? Anyone looking to speak against this petition or petitions? All right, I'll go ahead and close it.
Can we approve both these at the same time?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Vote separately.
It'd be cleaner for us to vote them separately, just.
I'm gonna,
Does that create, if this goes through, does that mean that the house on 175 is non-conforming because it would be encroaching 17 feet to the property line?
It would become legal non-conforming.
Okay, so maybe if this does pass, just to avoid real estate issues in the future, that should be part of it? That house is okay. They don't have to go through another
Right.
process?
It's automatic. As soon as the lot line adjustment happens, because they're changing, I mean, the lots are already legal non-conforming, but they're basically, the lots themselves are getting the relief for how they're going to be composed, but the structures thereon will become legal non-conforming.
Okay.
motion to approve. Robert Jones, petitioner owner, variance under section 3.02 of the zoning ordinance to permit a lot following a lot line adjustment with 18,644 square feet of lot, whereas 40,000 square feet is required, and 120 feet of frontage, whereas 150 feet is required. The parcel is located at 47 Lamson Drive in the R4 Residential District, Tax Map 2B, Lot 175, case number CBA 2021-20. Should this be approved, the requested variance in ZBA case 2020 should be obtained, and the petitioner shall obtain final approval from the planning board for the proposed lot line adjustment.
All right, motion made by Patrick, seconded by Rodney. All in favor?
Aye.
500. All right.
You want to do the second one? All right, awesome. We'll go 3 for 3. Robert Jones, approval. Robert Jones, petitioner, and Lloyd McLean, owner, variance under section 3.02 of the zoning ordinance to permit lot following a lot line adjustment with 27,628 square feet of lot where as 40,000 square feet is required. The parcel is located at 19 Winchester Drive in the R4 Residential District, Tax Map 2B, Lot 176, case number ZBA 2021. Should this be approved, the petitioner shall obtain final approval from the planning board for the proposed lot line adjustment. Speak
Okay.
up.
Motion made by Patrick, seconded by Drew. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, 500. So, as with every other petition, there is always that 30-day window, but otherwise, have fun at the planning board. Absolutely. You want to come up to the microphone?
Drew, you gotta speak up. Project.
Just a quick question regarding the process from here. So I think the last time I was in town, we were gonna try and do both at the same time, but we were a little, it's another investment, right, to now get the new plot plans done to bring to the planning board, so we wanted to wait, because we would kind of lose that money if we went to the surveyor to do that work now. We have that done. Application is pretty much exactly the same as what we did for the ZBA.
There's a subdivision application separate, or a lot line adjustment application separate from the ZBA application you filled out, so it's a different application form.
Yeah, but similar language, right, as far as
Oh,
what we
like-
use today, as far as justifications?
There's no justification on that application.
Okay.
So it's basically the informational purposes of the applicant's
Yes.
information and the surveyor's information, and that it's a totally separate form.
Okay.
But there's no justification that you need to put together.
So we're good at this point. As soon as that's complete, we can go ahead and hand it in and then be at the next planning board meeting.
Yeah, with the appropriate submittal deadline timeline, yeah, because
Correct.
there's a statutory timeframe for when you can submit for planning board.
Okay,
But yeah.
perfect. Thank you, appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
You too.
Absolutely, thank you. I think we're gonna take a 5-minute break. So Ronnie had to step out. I apologize, guys. We're just waiting on a board member. Wait a minute, you thought it was gonna go slower than this? Oh. Yeah, yes. It's funny too, because in these zoning board meetings are ones that we'll look at. Was it a zoning board? Thanks. When you gotta be up early to go to work the next day, it's not fun being stuck here till midnight. We've had some that went that long. I think we put that in place because of a particular case that lasted several hours. That was added in. I'm okay with not knowing the answer to that as long as I never have to. Oh, it's okay. All right, now that we're all here, I'll go ahead and start this back up. So the final petition is Michael Petrovic, petitioner, and James Turbine. Did I pronounce those right? Yep. Owner, variance under section 3.02A of the zoning ordinance to permit a two-family residence in the R1 residential district, whereas only single-family residences are permitted. The parcel is located at 35 Tinker Road in the R1 Residential by Soils and Aquifer Conservation Districts, tax map 2C, lot 14, case 2021-22. So if you'd like to just tell us a little bit about what you're looking to do, and then we can step through the criteria.
Okay. My name is Michael Petrovic. I'm a principal at Michael Petrovic Architects, and I represent the owner, James Turbine, in this project. The project started as my client purchased a house to build an ADU so his mother could join them on the property. And we got to the property and started working on doing an ADU and realized that the configuration of the property, the ledge on the property, the proximity of the property line, was not going to really permit us to do an ADU which is what they were looking to do. And we started the planning process for that approval and realized that the configuration of the property was not going to allow that to happen. So planning said, you're really going to have to go for a two-family on this to make this work, to get the size living quarters you'd like to have. So we rethought our process, and here we are.
Is that because of the restrictions on the size of the ADU?
No, we're just over that now, we've gone over just because we are here for a variance, but we're trying to maintain 1,000 square feet. It's just that we are 18 feet from that property line, and the configuration of the property, because a pool in the back, a driveway on the other end, and garages, and then the front, this is the only place on the property where another dwelling or expansion could happen. And so we decided that we really have to pursue a variance for this.
I guess my question is the differentiation between an ADU and a two-family the number of entrances?
It is. So the configuration of this property is that because there's ledge, we can't get low enough to actually have an entrance into the main house or connect to the main house inside. That's also a bedroom and a bathroom at that end of the house, so that would really be a little awkward. I mean, reconfiguring that end of the existing house in order to connect the ADU interior there.
Okay.
Okay, and the other thing is it's so narrow there that we need to be long and narrow in our ADU. And because there's a pool in the back, we need to come past the front facade of the house. We're not into the setback because the house is so far back from the road, but it does go up against the ADU criteria that you really can't come beyond the front facade of the house, of the existing dwelling.
I see. Okay.
So planning advised us that in order to pursue this in this configuration, we really needed to come for a variance. So the project is to build a secondary dwelling attached to the main house as a living space for a relative. It is 1,100 square feet total, including 230 square feet of a one-car garage, which is incorporated into the dwelling unit. So
this would be this would make it a two-family home.
it does.
Okay, so if the existing people moved out, does it get sold as two properties, or does it get sold as?
It's one property.
It gets sold as one property.
Right. It's not a duplex.
But then the other side could be rented or leased
Yes.
or whatever.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Just wanted to get the understanding.
Yeah. So the five criteria are, granting the variance would not be contrary to public interest because the proposed multifamily dwelling is not contrary to public interest as the dwelling is set back far beyond the view. It's set way back from the road behind a thick forest, so you can't even see the dwelling. It is from surrounding properties and is not contrary to the spirit of the zone. We're maintaining a residential look. The architecture of the expansion is in keeping with the existing dwelling.
Any questions from the board? All right, please continue.
The spirit of the ordinance is observed because the spirit of the ordinance is observed in that the proposed addition maintains the required setbacks and it is designed to architecturally blend with the existing dwelling. The proposed project seeks to maintain the character of the dwelling and therefore the character of the neighborhood.
All right, any questions from the board? All right, please continue.
Granting the variance would do substantial justice because due to the existing configuration of the dwelling and the property, it is not possible to construct an ADU which meets the requirements of the owner. And the owner has bought this property and that he can provide living space for his mother. So otherwise, mom would have to live somewhere else.
Absolutely understood. Yeah, please continue.
Okay. Granting the variance would not diminish the values of surrounding properties because the project seeks to maintain the character of the existing dwelling and therefore the neighborhood while allowing the owner to provide housing for his relative. The residence is visually screened from the road and adjacent properties.
All right, any questions so far? All right, please continue.
Number 5, unnecessary hardship. A, owing to the following special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, explain how no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to this property. The configuration of the existing dwelling on the site do not allow for the addition of an ADU which meets the requirements of the ordinance or the residential code. Application of the ordinance would require substantial additional work to the existing dwelling, and actually we would have to blast in order to be able to put that addition that ADU low enough to connect it to the house and reconfigure the interior of the existing house to make it work. B, the proposed use is a reasonable one. This project intends to provide alternative housing options at this property while maintaining aesthetics and quality. The purpose of the proposed dwelling is to provide for the owner's family member to live independently.
Actually, I appreciate it. I think that definitely covers the unnecessary hardship criteria.
Okay, good.
And you certainly done a good job of explaining to us how you got here and why you got here from the ADU idea. So it's, it's not like this is the first idea or the first plan, and we definitely appreciate that. But I gotta say, the plans look beautiful.
Thank you.
This does look beautiful. So if it's okay with you guys, what I'd like to do is open up to the public as we do, unless the board has any questions about any part of this. Nope. All right. Is there anyone that's looking to speak in favor of this petition? Oh, you can feel free to come down if you want to. Oh. All right. In that case, is there anyone that's looking to speak against this petition? Oh, you can if you want to speak, by all means. You're.
Don't feel pressured to speak. I'm fine. I like the presentation. I very much want to be in there.
I want to move into this house. I'm not. I mean. Yeah, this is really cool. All right, so I guess with that being said, we'll go ahead and close the public portion. And do I hear a motion?
I'd like to discuss first.
Sure.
So we're permitting a 2-unit dwelling in a single-family zone.
Correct.
So that, again, raises the issue of precedent, number one.
In this particular case, there won't be a precedence.
Because it's a variance.
Is it variance? Okay. all
And
right. Understood. Okay. And second is, what if anything is there to prevent a current or future buyer from subdividing into two properties and selling one or both?
Well, they would have to come back here, first of all.
And that,
Well, I'm thinking in terms of like a deed restriction granted to the town.
I think
Has that ever been
Robert would
done?
do a good job of answering that better than me. I don't,
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand.
what he's asking is, if they sell the property, what prevents the next owner from selling half of the unit?
Oh, they'd have to
Yeah.
condo it first, that would be a planning board approval,
So,
So they'd have to go before the planning board.
if they were to do that, yeah, it would have to be condoed first.
the second house isn't sharing utilities, is it?
Yes, it is sharing utilities.
Yeah, so,
Shared septic
It's a
and
very
shared
long process
utilities.
to go through to create a multifamily to turn into a condo.
plus if they're sharing utilities and they're all on the same, either the same lines, then that would have to be broken out as well. I mean, it could be done, Ben, I see what you're saying, I think. It could be done, but there would be, you have to do some legwork to get that done. Between separating the utilities and then, obviously going through, planning board. I had by the way, I had the same thought on that too.
Okay, so,
yeah, and even if somebody wanted to, reference this particular case, to make an attempt at getting a variance to do a similar thing, I mean, they would have to prove a similar process. Their configuration wouldn't allow them to have an ADU, which is what they initially wanted. So it's not like they're, coming out of the blue asking for a two-family home.
And if they were doing an ADU, they wouldn't even need to see us. If they could do the ADU, wouldn't even be in front of us right now, so.
Which is a great change, by the way.
Yeah.
So, sure, please.
Michael Petrovic and James Hybrid, variance under section 3.2 of the zoning ordinance to permit two-family residence in the R1. Sorry. Don't you want me to start over? Residential district, whereas only single-family residences are permitted. The parcel is located at 35 Tinker Road in the R1 Residential by Soils and Aquifer Conservation Districts, tax map 2C lot 014, case number 2021-22.
All right, motion made by Drew, seconded by Rodney. All in favor? So 5-0-0 passes. Just like all the other ones, there's a 30-day appeal window that I have to let you know about. But otherwise, congratulations, good luck, and if you need a roommate, let me know. All right, thank you.
can I call you when I build my ADU add-ons? Okay.
So,
Drew's gonna be doing a microphone etiquette class.
somehow,
You turned yours on, so I just came closer.
there we go.
It's too late, it's way too late.
It's been a long year.
I lost my cheat sheet somewhere in the shuffle.
What did you need to know?
I was just curious if we had anything else. I did want to say my apologies specifically to Ben and Rodney. I was supposed to be there last Tuesday, and I wound up being very sick and woke up at 9 o'clock at night, which was not very helpful. I don't think you would have wanted me there in the state that I was in anyway, so.
For the record, I was gonna come, but somebody told me that I didn't need to, so.
It
went very well.
Yeah.
I will say that I find the process of interviewing for the position that you're already doing to be kind of cumbersome. I'm still not sure why we do that, but,
Who'd you meet with?
Finlay and Tom.
Usual suspects?
Yep, it went very well.
Yeah, we had good discussions.
Yeah.
Yep. They explained fully why they have to do it, just to review to make sure that we're understanding and also to get our feedback of what we've thought of in the past 3 years we've been here.
interesting.
So it's probably best you weren't there to hear what our comments.
Wow.
No, it went very well. We spoke very highly.
He doesn't speak for me, understand.
No, we spoke very highly of both of you for the past 3 years.
Thank you.
Did they offer you guys a pay raise?
Yeah.
I think I should
Yeah.
deduction on my taxes. I was actually thinking that. My taxes should be a
That-
little bit, you know, a little bit of price.
That's
Let's not
not,
go there. I just got my assessment.
I'm like, I like the sound of that, but I don't think I can say that on a microphone. Any questions about, or comments or minutes? Motion? Words are not working right now.
Motion to, accept the minutes? Yeah, sure.
Second.
Minutes of May 26, 2021.
All right, Ben already seconded, so motion made by Rodney, seconded by Ben.
All in favor? Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm guessing abstain. Okay, so 4-0-1.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, you got to turn your this is official business right now.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, made by Drew, seconded by Rodney. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0-0. Good night, everyone.
Have a good one.